Greetings out there in YouTube land. Today's amp comes with an interesting story. A few days ago I saw an ad on Craigslist in a nearby town for a Fender Champ amplifier. So I called the guy and he tells me that he was helping his grandmother clean out her garage and they found this amp. And apparently it was purchased by the seller's uncle back around 1980, 79 or so, and unfortunately he passed away shortly after that and never really got to play the amp. So, you know, and when I hear stories like this, I always roll my eyes and think, oh sure, people will tell you anything, you know, and then you get there and what you find is something that's been to hell and halfway back. So let's take a close-up look at this amp and see if we believe the story. Are we excited about this new amp? First off, I'd have to say that the front view of it would support what I was told. There are no flaws in the Tolex that I can see. The handle, the chassis straps all appear to be in just great shape. The dashboard, you know how Silverface amps, one thing I don't like about them is the control panel never holds up well. It shows every mark. If you sneezed like 30 feet away from it, somehow it would make the panel look bad. So let's look real close. I see like a microscopic scratch right there where maybe somebody was trying to plug in the guitar jack and missed. And the knobs look absolutely perfect. This part looks good. There's a tiny little flaw right here, which of course means I'll have to take this straight to the dump, because who would ever own an amp with a flaw like that? Actually, I've seen new amps on display with flaws worse than that. Okay, now here, look, around the on-off switch, a little bit of the on is rubbed off, and there's a couple little tiny scratches, probably in the clear coat that goes over the panel. Pinstripe's perfect, grill cloth is perfect. The Fender emblem has the Made in the USA little tag at the bottom. As far as I can tell, I think looking at this, yes, it's been played, but not much. Let's take a look at the back. Okay, the rear is just as nice as the front. The rear of the chassis is pretty well flawless. Nice bright shiny tag with no ugly fingerprints. All the original stamps and serial number, it's A9 from 1979. Both upper and lower back doors are present. I'll pop the back door so we can get a better look inside, but the tube chart, a tiny little notch out at the bottom, but otherwise just about flawless. The original speaker, we'll get a better look at it in a minute. But so far, I'm tending to believe it. Oh, one other thing. This big heavy power cord is original. I was a little worried. It's kind of industrial grade. But the red plug is apparently typical of Fender amps of this vintage. And if we look at the prongs, there's almost no evidence of anywhere at all. They're still sharp on the ends. So once again, evidence is starting to make me believe that story that you hear but never believe. Let's pull the back doors and take a close look. Okay, I have the upper back door off. Screw heads show absolutely no sign of wear. The screws were really tight, and the upper panel was actually stuck to the cabinet with some of the contact cement. I don't think it's ever been off the amp. Okay, let's take a look inside. Well, first off, all three of the tubes are the original Fender special design tubes. This is the 5Y3, the 6V6, and the 12AX7 are also marked Fender special design. The speaker is code 465, which is Oxford 7939, so it's the 39th week of 1979. It's in perfect shape. The cone shows no marks, cracks of any sort. The chassis itself is immaculately clean, no sign of heat. At the bottom, let's see, we'll look in at the tube chart, and it is completely legit and intact except for that tiny little notch out of the bottom right corner. Again, I guess this one's headed for the dump. If your tube chart has a notch out, what good is the amp? Okay, looking inside, I don't want to go any further on this. I don't think this has ever been apart, and I don't see any real reason to take it apart. I'm going to leave the chassis in, which is uncharacteristic for me, and see how this thing sounds. If it sounds good, it's going to stay together the way God and Leo Fender intended. Okay, so let's put the rectifier tube back in, the upper back door, and let's see how this thing sounds. Well, let's see if it sounds as good as it looks. I've got the volume, treble, and bass all at 5. Here goes. Well, I'd have to say it does sound as good as it looks. That tone was excellent. Great clear highs and a really good bass response. I'm very pleased. Now for a little fun, let's hook up the Fender 6G15 clone that I made a couple years ago and see how the little Champ sounds with some reverb. Well, that about does it for the 1979 Champ amplifier. I have to say it really is a time capsule amp. It looks like it was played just a few times and then put away in storage exactly as I was told. So for once, the story's true. And I have to add that this is the first Silverface Fender I've ever owned. I tend to be kind of a snob. If it's not a tweed, brown face, or black face, I turn my nose up. But I'll tell you, having a chance to check this out real close has completely opened my eyes to Silverface Fenders as being really fine amps. And they're, I think, really underpriced. So from now on, my sites are open and Silverfaces are welcome. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, for heaven's sakes do so. I'm going to have a whole bunch more videos coming out soon, and I don't want you to miss them. Okay, so stay tuned. I really appreciate your time and interest, and I hope to see you again in the near future.